Okay. Welcome everyone to the kickoff of the 2024 Career Transition Series with GPS STEM. We're excited to have you here. I think career transitions are scary enough that it's great to have a cohort to be going through it together. And so in the chat, I see a lot of fun emojis. Let us know how you're feeling about your upcoming career transition. There could be multiple feelings, and so feel free to add lots of emojis in there. But I wanted to just take a moment also to thank our two training council members who volunteered to be program coordinators for this series, so to help keep us all on track. I know that there are some homework assignments and things that go along with the series, and that's difficult, I know, because you all have lots going on and other priorities and deadlines. And so Tessa and Jose will be helping us stay on track and keep us motivated through the series. If you didn't get a chance to fill out the pre-survey, we'd love to have you do that. And you can scan the QR code here. I didn't put it in the syllabus, so I'll make sure to link it in the syllabus as well, because we'll use that as we're going through the next 6 weeks together. These have been going through a little bit, but I did want to highlight a couple events that are happening that are probably really good events to do if you're in this series and thinking about your upcoming transition. And so this event is happening next week, Wednesday. If you are available during that lunch hour, I highly, highly recommend you attend. This event, it's going to be interactive, high energy, and a fun way to learn how to connect with the right people when you're networking. So I encourage you to sign up for this, and I'll put the links to these in the chat as well. And if you are looking for science communication and writing positions, we have an upcoming panel happening as well. So just something to keep in mind if that is your career direction and you're going through the career transition series, no better way than start to connect with industry professionals, do some informational interviews, do some mixing and mingling with them. And so I will put that information in the chat as well for you. All right. Great. And so then today we did have some pre-homework due, and it doesn't have to be done by today if you didn't, but this is a great place to start and making sure we're tapping into the resources that are available here at UCI for you all. And so I want to make sure that we do get these completed at some point during the series, and we'll check in if you have any questions, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to follow up on these assignments as well. All right. I don't think I need to go over this, but we've all been in Zoom enough, but we'd love for you to have your cameras on if you can. You all, like I said, it's tough enough to go through career transitions alone. And so this cohort can be a resource for you in itself, people who are going through what you're going through. And so to build a network, we kind of need engagement. And so if possible, turn on your cameras. The speakers love it as well and feed off of your energy when you're responding. And so if you can keep your cameras on, that would be great. All right. Well, without further ado, I'll pass it over to our speakers who are kicking it off for us, and then they're also going to join us later on in the series as well. So I will pass it over to you all to kick us off on our first session.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm going to present my screen now, and we'll get started. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here. We're super excited to be here today to kick off the first session of the series. And today we're going to take you through finding that perfect job, discovering your ideal career through personality, position, and place. And we'll explain the 3 Ps that are mentioned here in the beginning. So next slide, let me introduce myself really quick. My name is Amy Chung. I'm an Associate Director of Regulatory Writing at Novartis right now. My past positions have included roles at Jazz Pharma, Amgen, and Bristol Myers Squibb. I received my PhD in pharmaceutical sciences at the UW-Madison, Wisconsin, where I met my fellow grad student and partner in crime, Kwadwo Owusu-Ofori, and I'll hand it over to my fellow Badger to introduce himself next.
Hi, thanks, Amy. I'm Kwadwo Owusu-Ofori. So I'm a laboratory operations manager at the Milwaukee Health Department. And what we pretty much do is this is public health. So we did a lot of the laboratory testing for COVID, and then we look out for any type of bioterrorism threats or anything that can be happening. Before that, I had a past career as a startup entrepreneur. So I did the NSF I-Corps program and went through that, raised some money, built some products, and everything went well. But then I ended up having to go back to work because even though the company was profitable, it didn't make as much money in my pocket as I wanted to. So it's kind of a roundabout way to get here. And we will talk about all of our experiences as we go through this presentation. I'm really glad to be a part of this.
So with Kwadwo and myself, between the two of us, we've got the public sector, academia, and industry all covered. So if you have any questions, in those areas, we have about 30 years combined experience. So we should be able to hopefully help you get to a really good place for a job search. And we should be able to flip those upside down emojis right side up. So just to give you a high-level overview of where you are right now in the overall map of the career transition series, we're here on April 23rd to kick off the series with discovering your ideal career through personality, position, and place. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to meet some other speakers to cover some topics like resume and networking. And we'll see you back in a few weeks on May 14th to kind of walk you through the interview strategy and gaining confidence and negotiating skills. And then May 21st, you're going to talk more about transitions, and then you're going to end the series with a fun mixer on June 4th. Okay. So today's session, again, it's all about discovering your ideal career and finding ideal job openings. And we've developed a tool to really get you closer to finding that perfect fit for you in terms of your personality and your preferences and your core values. So at the end of today's session, you will have gone through the exercise where it's a lot closer to what you're looking for. And we'll do some practical exercises to go along with that as well. So I just want to start with this quote by Adam Grant. For those of you who are not familiar with him, he's a really great organizational psychologist. And he does, with his great sense of humor, walk you through kind of how to navigate the workforce and communities and organizations and in terms of how they behave and the psychology behind the work behaviors. But he says, big career decisions don't come with a map, but all you need is a compass. And the right next move is the one that brings you a step closer to living your core value. So, for me, I'm in this regulatory writing field that didn't exist 15 plus years ago. So if I were to be in my undergraduate career, try to plan out my career very specifically, I wouldn't have landed here. So it's kind of almost impossible to plan your career in advance. It's sort of all, my colleagues say it, your career always kind of makes sense in hindsight. So just have a compass that takes you there, and just, as long as you're connected with your core values and what the fit is for you, then it should take you a step closer each time you navigate your career. So really, the problems that we see over and over with candidates is a lot of candidates look at their skill sets rather than looking at really what they truly want and what fits with their core purpose and what they want. So what ends up happening is, for example, you're a grad student, you've been at the bench for 5+ years or all your graduate career, or you're a postdoc and research is really your background. And so you start kind of pigeonholing or typecasting yourself into a bench top position at the bench. Maybe that's not what you wanted. Maybe that's what you want, and that's great. But maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you enjoy other aspects like writing or teaching, or just doing something bigger with the data, or education or marketing, or that you might have other interests that could be at the core of what you want. But sometimes I think students get nervous and they start kind of thinking about what the employer will think they want to see. And so you'll cover your identity, and that leads to unsuccessful applications because you're covering your identity and it's not really what you quite want, but you think they want that. And so employers can really pick up on that energy too. And so that ends up kind of leading candidates down this road of flailing anxiety, where they do this parachute method where they just submit a bunch of applications that are kind of generic. They're not really committed to that position, but they want a position out the door. And so they kind of target broad and wide. And it's not very effective. It does, at the end of the day, it can lead to burned network bridges. And I'll go into that a little bit later. But it does lead to a lot of wasted time and energy at the end of the day for everyone involved, especially the students and the candidates applying for that position. So really, at the end of the day, when we go through this exercise of the 3P code that we've developed, which Kwadwo will walk you through, really that should target these problems and turn that into solutions. Is you can bring your whole self to the positions. You don't have to cover your identity. You can have targeted, precise, successful applications with good results and feedback from the employer that you apply to. This will minimize the anxiety and flailing and really get you to an efficient process. And at the end of the day, instead of burn network bridges, you can have professional core memberships that you can start to build throughout your career as you network specifically. At the end of the day, the wasted time and energy will translate to happy and fulfilled careers once you go through this this process. And if you're happy and fulfilled and enthused about your job and happy and interested about your career, naturally you'll get promoted more. You'll go further in your career, and it's going to translate to promotions and salary, a higher salary increase at the end of the day. So with that, I'll just quickly define the three high-level process. So number one, we're going to define the job titles that pique your interest and align with your core values. And then the second part is we're going to search for the specific titles in the environment that we've identified and defined. And the third part is that we're going to go ahead and look for and search and select the job openings that meet your needs at the end of this process. So with that, I'll have Kwadwo go through the background and what the tool actually entails and walk you actually through the tool itself.
All right, thanks, Amy. Yeah, I really appreciate Amy's synopsis of what's going on here in this project, because it really comes from a lot of our personal experiences. We graduated in 2010 from grad school, and I think it was about 15 years later. Was it 15 years or yeah, 15 years. Yeah, 15 years later. I think we really went through a lot of different things in terms of having different careers. So what I say here is that with Amy and I, Amy was very good at being able to say that after coming off of the bench in terms of postdoc, that she was very quickly able to decide that she wanted to go into medical writing. And so she was able to find the societies, be able to network in, be able to get to the first position, and it's had a very fruitful and great career in medical writing and industry, right? And with me, I had a bit of a harder time finding positions. And so we've been good friends this whole time. And then at some point in time, I got a chance to learn operations, which was one of my first positions coming out of school. And in operations, they have these tools called process improvement tools or quality improvement tools. So it's like, how do you get to the root cause of a problem? How do you make something more efficient in terms of a process, and how to make sure that you can get the most out of the work or the energy that you're putting into something. And so pretty much Amy and I just got together and said, okay, how can we put together both of our experiences, getting positions, using recruiters, going through professional networks, applying cold, all of these into a process that could have helped us when we were coming out of school. And so this led us into this field called job search self-efficacy, which is part of workforce development. And what I want everybody to do now is, you see a QR code at the top right of your screen. That goes to a validated survey called a job search self-efficacy survey. And it pretty much says, out of the different components that the research and workforce development and vocational psychology has found are necessary to have a successful job search, which means you're looking for a position and then you get a job offer. What are the things that you're good at? What are the things that you need more help with? And so it's a 20-question survey, 1 through 5 kind of thing, sliding scale. It's real quick. And I do want to actually have us take a break. We'll say maybe 3 minutes to finish that. And so at the 20-minute mark, we'll go ahead and keep going forward. And we'll tell you a little bit more about how we turned our experiences and this field of job search self-efficacy into a quick tool that will show you so many different job titles and job descriptions and career paths, I think within like the next 10 minutes. So if you can give us 3 minutes of your time to fill out the survey until the 20 mark, then we'll go ahead and move forward. And I think what we could do actually is if people could say finish, then maybe that could go faster because it's probably going to take less than 3 minutes. So. Yeah, we already have somebody done. That's good. All right. Good. All right. Yep. Looks like people are finishing up. That's good. All right. So we can go to the next slide then. All right. So I'm here to introduce the 3P code. So Amy and I, we decided when we first started off that we wanted to write a book just kind of capturing best practices of job searches. And as we kept on talking and talking, we really started to hone in and realize that there are really 3 key components to having a successful job. So we've been in jobs that we've liked, we've been in jobs that we don't like, we've been on career paths that we've liked, and we've been on career paths that we don't like. So with that, we were just saying, okay, what are the key things that we felt were needed in order to be able to say, okay, this is a good placement. Personality. So it's like the identity covering that we talked about with the problem. I think to me, that's the major issue that happens. I can tell you a quick story about one of my first positions where I was in a lab and there's a director of the lab. It's a clinical lab. So we're processing different specimens and everything like that. And when I get in, I had a little bit of business and administrative training, and I just realized that he just wasn't a very organized person and that he seemed to be very anxious about making decisions. It took him a long time to make them. He wasn't very sure about his work, and it was just like kind of worrying me and bothering me, like, how is this person the director of the lab? And then one day we had to go over to one of our clinics and we had to go and look at a specimen where somebody had an infection and we didn't know what it was, right? And so he got under the microscope and he was able to like immediately say, this is what type of microbe this is. And he looked at the microscope for what I would say was like 10 minutes, which is a long time for someone like me to like look at a microscope. But for him, he was just having a good time. And it made me realize that like he's a great technician, he's a great microbiologist and a great scientist, but not necessarily a great administrator. And so when we go to position there, we want to actually have people think about what they're going to be doing on a daily basis. Are you going to be doing tasks that you can get good at and become like really proficient in. So like if you think of something like a Maldi or a mass spec or something like that, there are people who love to be able to know everything about the different models of mass specs and everything like that. That would be considered like a technician kind of thing. And then the next thing that we looked at was the place. It's like when you go to an organization, the organization is working for a particular value. And so what value do you want to put your time in, your 40 hours a week for? Do you want to do it for public service? Do you want to do it for industry where you're actually making tangible products that can make people's lives better? Or do you want to do it for academia as well, where you're like increasing the amount of human knowledge that we have so that we can build better products in the future and even be at the forefront of the products that are being built and services being built? So next step, or the next slide. So what we've done here with this 3P code is that we've simply have you going through 3 different filters. The first filter here, on the bottom part of the axis, we have just 2 statements that you can determine which one you want to agree with. And then on the y-axis, we have the same thing, 2 statements. And we've been able to separate personalities into like 4 general groups, right? Because we want this to be very quick. We have the pioneer, which is someone who likes to get out there and have freedom and autonomy, and they like everyone else around them like freedom and autonomy. So this is someone that's perfectly sane and adds value in chaos or in new frontiers. We have of the left part, the top left, the investigator. So that's someone who they want the freedom and autonomy to be able to lead the group or be able to lead a project, but they want to make sure that everybody around them has a clear, defined role. At the bottom left there, we have a soldier who they want to make sure that their job is ordered and structured, and they want everyone around them to have an ordered and structured position as well, or workflow. And then at the bottom right is the diplomat, where they're saying that they like order and structure, but they can manage if everybody else is not working in an order and structured way. So let's go to the next slide. So then after that filter, which we'll go through soon, the second filter is talking more about position. So you have 3 different positions that we've been able to put people into. And this is based off of research as well done in entrepreneurship and business. And so we have a builder, a manager, and a planner. So a builder is someone who we would say likes managing tasks. When we talked about before, there's someone who loves to be on a mass spec or a certain like sequencing instrument or some type of technology they want to stay close to, or what do you call it, assay they want to stay close to. A manager is a people person. There's someone who, like when you're in a lab, there's always someone who's the most talkative person in the lab. They're going around, they're talking, they don't have their headphones in as much. They reminisce a lot about their past, what do you call it, accomplishments, and are always looking for a way to join a team. And then for the last piece, we have a planner, which is someone who enjoys managing projects, looking at metrics, being a visionary to like look into the future to see what's going to happen next. You would see them in something like strategic planning and enjoy thinking in big picture. And so with these 3 things, they're very different types of people. And for us, the way that this works the best is if you're honest about what type of person that you are. Because I know a lot of people would say, oh, if I want to make a lot of money, I have to go into management or have to go into like strategic planning or something like that. The way we designed this course flow is that you can hit any salary target that you want within any of these different types of positions. So it's more about what you're going to excel at easily versus what you think would be like a successful career path, if that makes sense. Next step or next slide is, so yes, the last part is the place. And this part is where we're going to really start to expand the world that AB and I are trying to create. So when we looked at our friends and looked at ourselves, and like we're saying, this is over a 15-year period, we realized that like most jobs and most careers really end up in 3 different places. Like either you're in academia, you're in industry, or you're in public service. Public service meaning It could be anywhere from NIH to CDC to DOJ, just a lot of different places. Industry can be biotech, it could be pharma, it could be mining and what's the mining and drilling. There's just a lot of different things you can do in industry. And then academia, it could be like small college, large college, research position, teaching position, everything like that. But these are the three core places to quickly be able to identify where you want to go next. Next slide. So to do a deeper dive, when we look at it academia, we defined it as a field or a place or environment that is looking to gain and share knowledge. And so there are three key things that are happening in academia. There's the pursuit of knowledge, which is the actual study. So that would be the research, that would be the textbook writing, the conferences, any type of sharing of knowledge. Talent development is what we would call, building the minds of the future. So like raising a student from freshman to senior, or from freshman graduate student to graduate, to doctor kind of thing. Wanting to really nurture someone. And then brand management, which is after that person graduates, or whenever you see the logo for your university anywhere, there's always some type of play involved in that. And so we just wanted to make sure that if someone knows that they're going into academia, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a professor, right? There are people who are in administration, whether it's research administration, grant administration, science and marketing and communications. When we were in school, we had this really cool person who was at our department, and she did science communication. So all she did was go around and interview all of the scientists and things that are happening in the department and write about it for alumni, of course, to get money. So it's like it all ends up coming down to that. So we wanted to kind of expand that out when we talk about what academia is. And then when we go to the next slide, this next slide is about industry. And so what we've done here with this next slide is just kind of draw out a value stream of what happens in industry. So generally in any industry, you're starting with like bringing something out of the soil or out of the ground. So either if it's in chemistry, textiles, pharmaceuticals, you're pulling something out of the ground for something. And so after that, it goes to an ingredient supplier who is going to turn it into a chemical for Sigma, or a chemical to be turned into a pharmaceutical, or an assay kit, or whatever is necessary. After that, there's going to be some of those ingredients or reagents being used for research and development, and others are going to be used for manufacturing. And after it's manufactured, it goes into sales and marketing. And on the left side here, we have the different types of places that we've seen people go from our different types of degrees. So you have cosmetics, pharma, biotech, materials and textiles. We want to let you know that from where you are now, you can get into any one of these different places. So I don't want you to feel like you need to have a transitional job or transitional career. You can just go right into saying, I want to be in manufacturing and cosmetics, and this system will be able to put you there. And so we can go into the next slide, where this is where I'm in, which is the public service slide. I find public service very interesting because, particularly coming out of academia, we always, it's what Amy was saying, where we have two sides of us. Like we have the person in the lab who is diligent and is a scientist and very interested in everything down to the enzyme level or genome level kind of situation. And then we have the person who we are outside of lab, where like, I know like some of us like to do kayaking, some of us like to do capoeira, some of us like to do clubbing and dancing, some of us like to do, I don't know, rugby, right? And so when we look at this public service part, I find it interesting because public service is always looking to hire newer people, particularly especially out of school. And with this 3P code or with this system, you could go into a very, very different place from where you are now. And I always think about this in terms of like Justice Department, where like if I came out of pharmaceutical sciences, and you're thinking that you want to go in and become a professor, but then I could have gone into government and gone to the Justice Department and then like worked for the DEA and figuring out different field assays for how to test whether something is cocaine or something is fentanyl or not. I mean, these are all these different things that people can do um, in government. Or when I'm looking here, White House, I had a very good friend, which is why we were able to put that in there, who he has his PhD in like, I think it's biochem or something like that. And met him here. He was at UWM doing a postdoc, and then ended up being able to network and to apply his way to the White House science fair. So there are people who come together and they put on the science fair for the White House every year, and he was on that team. So that's something that we don't think about coming out of academia. But I'm just trying to stretch you out there to say that these are roles that are out there. These are roles that need scientists at a graduate level, and they're available to you. So, yep, next slide after that. So we put it all together into a system of filters. We're going to filter you through personality, filter you through position, and filter you through place. And this is designed to box you in. But the thing I want to tell you about it is that just because you're in a box doesn't mean that opportunities that are in another box aren't available to you. There are a lot of things that cross over. So don't feel like there's going to be a fear of missing out. If you're able to answer these honestly, and then even if you're saying, "Oh, I might be in between this and this," when you look at those when you look at those two things, you're going to find that even though you're between those two things, out of the list of 20 jobs that we give you, maybe 3 of them are not on both lists. I don't want people to feel any type of anxiety about having to box themselves in for this exercise. And it's just an exercise, right? So we filter you through personality, position, and place, and we find what we termed a 3P code to put it all together. So the next slide is that you're going to do the 3P code now. So we have the QR code there for you to scan, and you literally answer, I think, 3 or 4 questions, and you will have a list of about 20 um, positions that Amy and I have sat down for years to curate, to say that if someone hits these 3 things, that these would be positions for you. And after we go through this, we're going to show you how to go and find any of the positions that you find interesting on that list on LinkedIn and be able to find an open position today that you can apply to and have a higher chance of getting. So we'll give it, what do you think, Amy, about 2 or 3 minutes again to do the 3P code? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then let us know when you're done in the chat.
Yeah. And if there are any questions, I went through a lot of information. If there are any questions, and if someone's already finished their 3P code, we could take a couple of questions, I think, during that 3 minutes. Is that okay? Or, okay. And you could just unmute yourself if you want to. I'm actually going to do mine again just to make sure it's all good. Let's see. Ooh, also tell us what you got. We're always interested in what people get. Let's see. I think what was I? Investigator, pioneer, public service or something like that, or yeah.
Mine was
Yeah.
diplomat industry and manager.
Okay.
Very classic. If you went for
DIY.
my
Yeah.
position right now, yeah.
Quick
Hey
question.
Lauren, what did you get? Yeah.
I have a question for you all. For
Yep.
the like, should folks be looking for people who get like a similar code as them and like they can kind of feed off each other and work together, or is it also good to like you and Amy are different, like you work together, and so like is it good to have some of that balance to it in perspective and our strengths and those types of things?
Huh. Have we gotten that far yet? The research, we're just like getting
We are, yeah, getting the codes
into-
in, but I think it's a great idea. I mean,
Yes,
the
I
more
think
you
so
can
too.
exchange notes, and I to this day too, I met a fellow medical writer 10 years ago, and I just talked with her last week about, hey, there's a position that I'm currently happy in my position, but you might be interested in, or you can forward each other different links to different positions, or um, and as a side note, I think as you kind of climb your career ladder, it's not always like a straight beeline, steep, curve all the way to the top. It's sometimes you take a step back, sometimes you go forward, and you just kind of adjust to where your phase of life is at the time. So if you
Mhm.
have similar 3P code buddies that can kind of brainstorm with you along the way. Different interests change, personalities change, and situations change. So yeah, it's always a good idea to kind of have a community where you can share and compare notes.
Yeah, no, that's actually such a good point. I mean, yeah, just like what you were saying, when I'm thinking about these last, 15, I'm gonna keep saying 15 so that I remember that it's actually been that long. But it's like things have changed, like you're saying, particularly with the personal. So like if it's marriage or kids or mortgage or ailing parent, where I've met a lot of people who they'll be out and about doing their career and then their parents get sick or one of their parents gets sick and they have to move back home, what kind of industries are going to be at home. Um, or they're gonna have to move. Yeah, there's just a lot of things that happen where they might have to slow down or speed up or have the chance to speed up. So
Or
yeah,
change positions too. I think
yes.
one of my networks that I talked to, she's a professor right now at Johns Hopkins, and she wants to join industry. She's kind
Yeah.
of looking to leave the academic setting and join industry, but she wants to keep that publications continuum as a medical writer. And
Mm,
sometimes you get into a field and you kind of have expectations of XYZ, and like medical liaison, for instance, that requires a lot of travel. And
mhm.
at the end of the day, you might get tired of traveling, or you might want to do more traveling, or it can take you in a few different directions once you're in that field. Life and work, it's all there's nothing constant but change.
Yeah. I see this interesting. Should we choose a career we're good at or something we want to get better at, even though it's hard now? Ah, what would you say? I would say you have to already be good at it. So, what
It
would you?
depends. I really think it boils down to what you're passionate about. It's
Oh,
as kumbaya as it sounds. I think to get up every day, to dedicate 8 to 10 hours a day, 40 hours a week minimum. That's a good chunk of your life. And so, if what's if you're not good at something but you want to be, I think that takes you a long way. So I think the X and Y axis is you want to do good versus your skill set. And so I think it's always kind of kind of a marriage between those two always. So I think it's better to, you're in a better position if you want to do good at something and you can develop the skill set versus you don't want to do something, but you have to do that skill set, if that makes sense. So that'll
Okay,
lead
yeah.
to burnout territory.
No, yeah, I think you're right. I was totally getting ready to disagree with you, except that you are right. So like, yeah, that's what it comes down to.
What's that?
Okay.
Can you hear that again? So, yeah, no, I think at the end of your
Yeah.
career, especially particularly, I'm in this writing space for 13 years now, and I think your 7 to 10 year mark is where you really get in that comfortable space where you can either really burn out or really excel, or somewhere in between. But it's better to have high motivation and little skill versus the other way around.
Cool. Yeah. And with that being said, let's go to the next slide. Let's find these jobs in real life, right? So let's see. Is this me?
This is me,
Okay,
and
good, yeah.
so everyone should have their 3P code in front of them, right? And the link should have taken you to a list of job position titles. And there should have been 1 to 3 that really stood out to you, at least one that really stood out to you as kind of like the top interest piquing title. So I can kind of show you examples of where to go through with LinkedIn, and show you examples of how to search for that. But really the ideal or the point of that 3P code exercise was to really box you into a specific job title, at least 3 that you can start your search with. So if you wanted to do the search today, right after the session, or casually like at the same time as I'm walking you through the LinkedIn, you can definitely take a look at some of what's out there using those job titles. So I'll just go ahead and dive right in. So let's say that health economics was one of the titles that was on your list. And I'm just picking industry as an example, health economics as a field as an example, just to show you. As soon as you go into LinkedIn, and as sort of a manager, kind of having been on the hiring side, I think LinkedIn is kind of the go-to nowadays for employers. So I'll just kind of show you the examples and the processes through LinkedIn as a default. So I've typed in health economics. You can set your location. I'll just say the US. Excuse me. And one thing you'll notice right off the bat is all these different filters that are up at the top available to you. And so you can actually search filtering by the most recent posted, the experience level. If you're a graduate student or postdoc coming right out of academia looking to transition into industry, for example, you can probably filter by entry level position, and that'll kind of get you a more efficient, narrow search. If you have a company that you have in mind, whether it be for location, like, I think Amgen for me as a medical writing field was like the golden star I wanted to pursue. So you can kind of start to pursue different companies that way. Remote versus on-site, you can always tailor all these different filters. So when for example, I've hit health economics, you'll kind of pick up on different acronyms and different words that you can search and modify your searches along the way. So for here, there's a HOPE specialist, right? Like health outcomes and policy economics. And so you can use the word HOPE to search and hone in on that specific field if you like. There's commonly HEOR, health economics outcomes research, that people use in this field. And so again, you can kind of tailor your search depending on kind of the common words and the themes that you can see as you search. Depending on the position, sometimes they'll post a salary range here. Like Colorado, I think, is a state that has to disclose salary range, so you can kind of get an idea of the ballpark of what you should expect for that position. They'll show you kind of how many employees that the company has, a little information about the company. And then I'll kind of dig into this part and over the next few slides, but you'll want to focus on the connections and the folks you have alumni connections, working connections with, and really kind of use this to your advantage as you search. So a lot of times you can actually apply directly through LinkedIn. and a lot of recruiters and companies do take direct LinkedIn applications. For my current position at Novartis, which I applied to last year, I used LinkedIn Apply, and I got a call back from using LinkedIn Apply. So you can just apply directly here. And you can actually do what's called an easy apply. I'll show you in the next slide. And you'll see this easy apply icon here. But you can also filter for easy apply applications if you're kind of wanting to see what's out there with easy apply functions off the bat. And then this is a slide that's showing you another field, intellectual property in the US, filtered by entry-level position. And I'll show you the results down here. The point of this slide is to show you that easy apply is available. And basically, easy apply kind of helps the employer reduce the redundancy from their end. So instead of applying internally through their system, uploading your resume that has the link to your LinkedIn profile anyway, and having them kind of sift through redundant and duplicate data, they can just easily kind of get a synopsis of your LinkedIn profile, and then also just be in LinkedIn and then go into your profile as well. So what it looks like from the employer's end, actually this slide is just to show you sometimes they do show you the recruiter or the hiring manager behind the scenes. And it's okay to contact them directly, especially after doing the easy apply. You can reach out to them and just confirm you're really excited about the position, wanted to make sure they had the application, and if there's anything that you can follow up with, just let you know. That kind of message, I think that shows commitment and enthusiasm, which can help you with your application kind of standing out. So then from the employer's end, what Easy Apply looks like is, again, they have a synopsis of your profile. They can also see sometimes how many jobs you've applied for. And they can kind of get your core information and then go directly to your LinkedIn profile. So this is just for your FYI, in case you're curious about what they see at the other end. So again, I'm going to dive a little bit into kind of leveraging your connections on your LinkedIn profile as you search for the positions that you want, because you definitely want to make a directed and specific and committed approach to the jobs that you're looking for. So again, I've typed in a different field. For your example, it's technical operations. You can see there's some connections here. There's some alumni, and really what you want to do is, if you can, get this requisition number. So the more specific you can get before you reach out to your network, the better. So the kind of messages that always leave me a little bit, it leaves me feeling a little bit bad because I can't help the candidates that are looking for the help is, I'll get a lot of messages that say, hey, I noticed you're at Novartis, or I noticed you're at Amgen. Is there something for me? And I don't know what's out there for you. I may know of some openings that are within my immediate team in the regulatory or medical writing space, but I have no idea what openings are out there at the broader company level, right? Like Novartis is 100,000 people big. I don't know all the positions that are out there. And I'm not going to be in the career website because I'm already in my position. And so for folks that are reaching out to their contacts, the best sort of message that I get are the specific ones. Here's a rec number. I'd really like to apply for this. Can you take my resume to the hiring manager, or put me in touch with or send my resume to the talent acquisition? So the ones that are really good are the ones that send me the specific title, the rec number, even a link to the position in the internal web or the company website, and then a resume attached. Like everything's in that one package, and I know exactly what to do. I know exactly where to go to put that candidate for internal referral in the system. So if you're really broad and you approach someone that's in your connection, that's kind of where we talked about the burned network. Is if you're too broad and you're not sure what you want, but you kind of just use that connection to ask for something broader out there, they're not going to know what to do with your message. And especially because folks are remote these days. I may hear about a open position. I've been in this remote position for 8 years now. When I was in the office, we would have these like water cooler conversations where you just casually talk about, oh, we have an opening here and there. And you can actually refer candidates because you know about some of these positions. But especially as positions are getting more remote, these water cooler conversations are becoming fewer, and folks are very kind of boxed in their specific roles. And so you'll want to be very specific and do the homework in terms of what's open beforehand. And if you don't see openings in the company and the department that you want to go, that you have a connection in, you can ask that specific question. I really want to be a manufacturing or technical operations associate. Are there any positions within your division, or do you know of any in the tech ops division? You can always kind of approach your contact that way. And then that way, if they do happen to have a water cooler conversation with a technical operations colleague, then they can ask. Somebody was asking from UCI, a new graduate was asking if you guys have any openings. So the more specific you get, the better, and that the person, your contact, can help you. Okay, so as you do your search and you tailor your resume, I always tell all the candidates applying, please tailor your resume to that specific position. And so the key technical tip here is mirror their language. You'll see some words come up over and over again, and so make sure you incorporate those common words into your resume. Some key manager tips that are less known, commonly known, is there's hiring seasons. People evaluate their budget at the end of the year. So come September, you're not going to see as many openings as the previous months. So they evaluate the budget. January is when they get the head count, the open position. And so you'll start seeing those positions reflected on LinkedIn in February. So that's your open window if you want to apply. But again, a lot of companies have application limits. Like Amgen has 1 application per year policy because they don't want people parachuting. So be mindful of what position you want to exactly hone in on before you apply. Recruiters, I know we're kind of nearing the top of the hour, so I'll go a little bit quicker. Recruiters, there's internal, which you'll see at company booths at conferences sometimes, and they're typically called talent acquisition. And their job is to just scan the professional outlook, like on LinkedIn. They'll do key searches, and your profile might come up depending on the word they use. Those are just internal employees of that company that are out there to scout out talent and put those resumes in front of the hiring manager so that the hiring manager can continue doing their job. External recruiters are ones that are commission-based. They put candidates, they're often contracted by the company, but they are working on commission base. So they typically like to work with candidates that have experience already, so they have a higher chance of getting that commission. But that's not to say that it's a hard and fast rule. They only work with people with experience. But just so you know the difference between the two recruiters, there's internal and external. So some final kind of cheerleading, championing advice is the world needs you and your talents and you as a person, right? Not just your skill sets. And I just want to remind, especially grad students and postdocs, our academic training is a lot more than just science and lab techniques. We definitely have a lot of other skill sets that we offer on the table, and a lot of times people will only work or specifically look for PhDs because of all these the list of skill sets that we acquire along the way, like critical thinking, problem solving, self-starting, being independent, proven dedication, long-term commitment, tackling steep learning curves, and high tolerance for failure. Science is going to definitely train you for that. So just know that you're valued. The world needs you, and it's tough getting your foot in the door. But once you're there, you can let your wings. You can just soar with your wings open. So. With that, we've kind of covered the tip of the iceberg with this session, but we do have a lot of kind of tips and different tricks that you can use in our book. We've written this over the years because we wanted to save a lot of pain for our students, and there wasn't a resource out there that was really comprehensive and quick read for the students to use as a guide. So hope it will help, and in the few minutes we have left, I can open the floor up for questions.
Yeah. Did anybody find any cool new positions, or have any have any interesting questions about all of this and where to go from here?
I had a quick question.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about your thoughts on minimum job requirements, that list of minimum job requirements they have, and how much, I guess, value should a potential person applying put into that, as far as like, maybe I should stay away from this because I don't really meet all these requirements, or maybe I can still apply because I mean most of them, but I don't necessarily have all of them.
Do you want to take this, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I'm just kind
Thank
of
you for the
smiling here
question.
because every position
Yeah.
seems to have 1 to 3 years of experience, but no one's willing to give that experience. So it's a catch-22, right? And I remember when I was starting to apply for industry positions, it was kind of daunting because I felt like I was, if I heard the word overqualified by experience or by education, but underqualified by experience one more time, I was going to just puke, and it just is, don't let that daunt you. To long story short, if it says 1 to 3 years of experience, go ahead and just put your application in, and there's going to be people that are willing to train. And as an industry, we do recognize that that is a problem, and so a lot of companies are trying to pay it forward by taking in less experience, less direct experience, and train, and offer postdocships, internships, fellowships, to kind of tackle that problem, because it is a catch-22.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I would say just to add on to that, like a big thing is what Amy was saying before, is the alumni network. Like while you're here, like literally when you find the positions that you want on LinkedIn and you go to that filter section, you could say also went to UCI, right? And then anytime, like Amy and I just got off of job searches just recently. Like I just started this position a couple of months ago, and then Amy started end of last year. Yeah, from taking what's it called? Yeah, so it's like with that, it's like that's really how it works. I don't know how to put it. It's just like whenever I asked an alumni, hey, we're in Madison, we're like, hey, I'm a Badger, I'm looking at this position with this rec number. Can you put me in touch with the hiring manager of the talent acquisition? I think out of the 10 times I did that, like 9 to 10 times somebody's gonna respond. Um, Let's see, there's another thing I wanted to add too. So that internal champion is key, because that will at least get you to the interview. I don't think that I had any problems getting to an interview using this method. And so, which is a very big hurdle. So yeah, that's really another thing I wanted to add before we have to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to give Lauren a chance to make any announcements before,
Yes.
we're too late, but we can stay for Q&A afterwards.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Let me share a couple announcements real quick for you all. One, I'd love for you all to put some key takeaways in the chat so you can kind of refresh what we all learned today, and we can thank Kwadwo and Amy by letting them know that we heard them and seeds have been planted, and we're gonna remember what they're saying. For those of you who are going to continue with this series, just some reminders on certificate requirements. So we want to attend as many sessions as possible. You can miss a session and you can watch the recording and just make sure to complete the corresponding homework assignments with it. Make sure to do the homework, and they should be pretty simple. So I tried to make them to where they're not going to be too difficult. It's a draft of a resume. It could even be an old one. We just need to find it and dust it off. Quick things in there. Please reach out if you have questions on the different homework assignments, and they're all linked here in the schedule and syllabus. And then along the way, I might ask for some feedback. So please fill that out as much as possible. And then our homework for between now and next Tuesday is just to find or create a resume. And it has to be just a draft. We just want to make sure we're getting in the space of realizing we need a resume and we have it somewhere accessible at the top of our files. And so that's really the goal for between now and next Tuesday. And then I'll lead a session next week on how to tailor your resume and translate what you did in your graduate and postdoc work into a resume. And so that will be our next week's session. And Amy already kind of talked about this too, which was great, and our following session. So please make sure, reach out if you have questions. But I hope to see you all next Tuesday. And thanks for Amy and Kwadwo for being here. If we can give them a round of applause for taking time out and sharing. So we really appreciate that, and I can pass it back to you. Thanks for being willing to stay on and answer some questions.
Sure, yeah, if anyone has any questions, I know it's kind of a big black box out there, and hopefully we've given you kind of concrete list of positions that are out there, because I think, as a student, there's no way you would know that those exist when you're not in that world already. So it's kind of a daunting task, I know. But.
Yeah,
So
I see
can I
some
ask
stuff
a
in the
question?
chat that's like about a fresh PhD grad. Should we limit ourselves to entry-level positions, especially in academia? And can you send both connection requests on LinkedIn? Oh, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. We can send our LinkedIn. But yeah, so I think that's interesting about entry-level positions from a PhD standpoint. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly want to advise against that, just because you might waste that one application, and so I always work on probability. You can, it's not impossible, but the probability is pretty low that the hiring manager at the other end is going to want to, train from the ground up. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you don't have so the typical in industry anyway goes from associate to senior associate to manager, senior manager, associate director, and so forth. And so if you start here without any direct experience, your resume is likely going to probably just get ignored, because it's just not the right fit. You do have to earn that experience along the way, and get that training that you need along the way to build up to that career. So unless you have direct applicable experience, I would advise to kind of start at the entry level.
Okay. Cool. And then we have, let's see. Oh, this is people sending out their. Cool. All right. Yep. I think that's
Actually,
it.
I wanted to ask a question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder about when we ask people to refer us. Look, apparently this is something very common, that you reach your network and you can say, look, this is the position I'm interested in. Can you refer me? So now I wonder if they haven't worked with you. So are they still going to do that, or is this still a suitable question?
Yeah.
Sorry to have all
I'll think, yeah. They let's see. So this is what I've seen. They will. So it's like if I know you and I haven't had a bad experience with you and you're saying you want this position, I will forward it. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's better that I'm working with somebody that I know than somebody that I don't know. And I think that that's the hardest thing that there is to breaking into industry or academia or anything, is that like there is a clique, and it's like you have to become part of like the club, and so that's why with the 3P code, figuring out which club you want to be a part of. Like I always like to use Amy's career as a good example, because it's like you went to AMWA, like the conference. I'm taking it back to Edwards,
Yeah, it's
So,
American Medical Writers Association. As soon
yeah.
as I knew this field existed, I kind of committed to their biggest organization that had the medical writers, and kind of used my network there to get in.
Yeah, and I think for me, any of the advancements I've had in my career have all been through like a national organization. And so once you get in there and then like you're able to like have lunch with whoever, meet at a bar. You know how conferences go. It's like that you'll be a part of that network. And it's not like, I think that in graduate school, it'll be like American Society of Microbiologists, or like, you know, something, I'm trying to think of ACS, American Chemical Society. Like, that's not a career. You know what I mean? Like, a career is, you know, medical writer. There are, well, I think, let me think, with the scientists, so like if you're a scientist at like Sigma Aldrich, would you be going to ACS, or is there like a different?
So there is actually like an industry specific one where all
Yeah,
manufacturing data program managers, you know, project managers, there is a DIA, it's called,
okay, yeah,
or something. So yeah, so I forget, but it is like the biggest industry network connection. So DIA is sort of where everybody networks and connects within that industry. So
yeah,
yeah, if
those
you're someone,
spaces, yeah.
yeah, I've
And
referred someone I've met at DIA as well.
yeah. And while you're affiliated with the university, use those discounts to get to those conferences, because
Yes.
like even just having them in your LinkedIn network, hey, we had a beer in Miami at this conference, and now I want to find a position at your company. It's like, yeah, like, so it's like, I know that it's, yeah, that's really how it is. I don't, I don't
It gets so much more expensive once you're a working professional. Yeah, take advantage now.
yeah,
And network. And you'd be surprised how willing people are to help.
yes,
Even if you
yes.
cold reach out, they will usually respond if they know what to do. Like, as long as it's not a broad, hey, you know, do you have, because if you message them and say, do you have something, then it requires them to drop what they're doing and go in and search themselves, which they're not going to have time to do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the key thing is that, like, and I think that with this process is that you're a lot closer than you think to that internal champion. Like, it's not like, who am I, who do I, you know, who do I know that works at Pfizer that does this? Like with LinkedIn and the power of social media, I don't know if I could just make this guarantee, like you're no more than two people away from your dream job. And so that's where the whole focus was like, let's get you there. Let's make sure you're confident about your choice in your dream job, that you've looked through, and you're what do you call it, thinking holistically about it, so that when you go into your interview, and I think there are going to be next topics about interviews, you come in with your full self. It's not like, oh, you know, I secretly am a gamer or something like that. It's like, yes, we want gamers here, you know, that kind of thing. So, and that gives you a better chance, because everybody's going to be competing, and you just, even now, like we're looking for bioinformaticians. So we just actually went through hiring, and Amy was talking about this, true. There generally are like two candidates that like clearly are better than everybody else. And so the more you match up with where you want to be and you've thought about it, you make yourself that clear choice. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Can you put the name of the conference you mentioned in the chat? You said there is a conference, people.
Oh, the industries.
Yes.
You're the medical writer one, or the industry?
You said there is, yeah, that the industry, you can meet people to network with that.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And I always appreciate when I see grad students there, because I didn't know that existed, but yeah, it just shows proactiveness. And I know I personally referred someone in the system that I've met there. And then also last year too, I've referred a couple people that I've never worked with. You know, one is from academia, one is from, you know, industry already, but you know, they are pleasant people to work with. So they can kind of phrase it in a way like, I've known this person for so many years, and you know, while I have no direct like working experience with them, they are absolute pleasure to be around, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And nowadays, it's really just like that person internally just saying, shooting it over to the talent acquisition or hiring manager, this is my recommendation, because you get paid for that, right? In a lot of companies, if you if you recommend somebody that's a direct hire, you get a little bit of change for that, right? Or
yeah, there is a finder's like bonus fee.
Finder's fee, yeah.
Yeah.
They have bonuses all over. That's the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about. In industry, it's just like, there's like, oh, here's a bonus, here's a bonus. And I'm like, I get the same
But
check every
that's
2
part of their motivation too, is referring you.
Right.
But they, their reputation is at stake too, so they're not going to refer anyone. But it helps having that motivation to refer someone if you're going to have some financial gain at the end. And the thing with those finder's fee referral fee too is it varies depending on the position. Like if it's a really hard to fill position, like regulatory is hard to find talent. Like it'll go to upwards of like 3 or 4K. If it's for like a easy, like a marketing or sales sort of where there is more of a candidate pool, I've seen like 1,000. So there is a financial incentive for the internal person referring you in a lot of the cases, not always, but a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Actually, maybe one last question. So I wonder, when we talked about this using the exact words in our resume, and I've also heard it also in the workshops and so on. And I wonder, what if we don't have that exact skill set? People tell me you just go ahead and put it, then you can just, talk about it, like even if you've done something little in that case, if it was not, let's say, something major you did for your thesis work. So I personally do not like to lie, but this is what people say. This is the only way that you can get to the interview session. So I wanted to ask, what is your opinion?
Man, I'm just keeping it real. Like I found a lot of success doing that. So it's yeah, like I mean, because it's like I'm trying to think of how to put it. We might have differing opinions, so let me know if you feel different, Amy. But I look at each of these as a series of hurdles and hoops and steps. And so like if that's what I need to do to get through that hoop, then I did it. When it came to the interview, there wasn't anything that I felt I had to like fuddle my way through, because I like once you're already like in your space in terms of 3P, like I don't know, like I don't know how to put it. You're gonna be fine in terms of like the technical knowledge. If you're doing graduate school or postdoc, you already have enough technical knowledge, you know what I mean? So it's not gonna say, nobody's gonna come to you and say, oh, what is the catalytic lysine of this enzyme? And you're like, oh, I don't know. And then like, that's why I don't get the job, kind of thing. So like, I look at it as like, how can I, as closely as possible, translate things? But I don't put everything there. If they have like, 10 job bullet points, if I'm only good at 5 of them, just repeat those 5. Like, that's it,
Well, I think in the chat, Lauren put it really nicely. Like there's a difference between lying and blatantly lying, and then versus letting facts get in the way. Like
There
you
you
don't.
go. Okay.
I guess it's kind of like what you want to present in terms of like, let's say you've only done an ELISA assay like once or twice, right? You can put that there. It's not like you have to be the expert of ELISAs or any like Western blot. Even if you've like seen someone do a Western blot over the shoulder, you can put that there. So it doesn't have to be. It's somewhere between like a white lie and a like complete like hard and black and white truth sort of thing. I wouldn't make up things that you didn't do. Like if you've never ran a mass spec, then I wouldn't put that there. But
Yeah.
you could emphasize other skill sets in place of that.
I'd keep the error bar at 20%. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm gonna share a really short story, there's a personal story that's backfired me that way, where I was in my postdoc. I really wanted to leave academia. I really wanted to just like start working in industry, and I saw this position at and everything fit, right? Like the location fit, the salary fit, everything fit, but I just didn't have a strong chemistry background, and they were looking for a polymer chemist. And yeah, I kind of knew a little bit of, I was kind of a organic chemist by training. And so kind of knew a little bit about polymers too. And, when I got to the interview, I realized like, I don't want to do this. I don't want this position. And they were kind of grilling me about like, well, how did you synthesize this? And I kind of was tiptoeing. And I think everyone was super irritated at the end of the day. And the other kind of side story about that experience is somebody high up saw me during the interview and he said, there's actually a tissue engineering, like a more biology focused position. Would you be interested in that instead of this? And what I should have said was, yes, I'm a better fit there. I have more of a biochemistry training. That would be, but I didn't know because I was such a newbie at the time, and I thought it would look disloyal to say that I'm now interested in this position versus that. So I said, no, I'm interested in this position and I'm committed. But I think looking back, that was kind of a big mistake on my end, is to target a position that I actually wasn't a good fit for and didn't want. And my technical training there was very weak, and I thought that was my only option. But then at the interview, they presented me with this position that wasn't out in the public domain yet. So I should have kind of grabbed that or left an opening. But so yeah, don't go too far. Yeah, the standard dev, leave the standard dev at 20%.
Yeah. And I've got to go. There's something happening over here. So, but like, I just want to say thank you to y'all and everything like that. And then my name's pretty unique, so you can hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll reply. So, okay.
All right, take care. Yeah, and I could probably for like one more question, but I've also got to get running too. Or you can reach out to us, via LinkedIn.
And just one quick question about you and the easy apply, when it lets the other, the person, I guess, seeking a particular potential employee know which other job offers you've applied to. Does it let them know like what those jobs are? Or just lets them know the quantity of different jobs you've applied to?
As far as I know, I think it's just quantity. I don't think that link is clickable. But I can look that up and get back to you. Don't quote me on that. But as far as I know, I don't think they have that amount of transparency.
Okay. Yeah, I was just asking because I know you mentioned the parachute approach and how that could work against you if you're applying to a bunch of different jobs that may not be related. And I was just curious if that could like be a red flag for someone if they see that you've applied to this other job and it doesn't quite line up with the current job that you're applying to through them, and if that could potentially be considered a red flag.
Yeah, it's not a red flag at all for candidates to apply for multiple positions. I think that's fair game. I think maybe more than 20 might raise a flag or so, but if they know like you're open to jobs and looking, they know that you've got you've applied to multiple positions, and a lot of times they'll just expect that you're talking to other companies as well. And one trick I've used, I think it works better if you have more experience along the way, but I've actually just told them like I'm talking to 2 other companies and I'm not talking to anyone else. So you can kind of, I think they expect to be talking to other candidates. So that shows that you're a desired candidate.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Would I be able to ask one really quick question? It was something, and I appreciate your time. It was something you had mentioned early on. I'm in the position where I'm currently trying to decide if I want to pursue a postdoc or not. And I feel like everyone has opinions. And I mean, I don't know if it's just the same rhetoric people have just kind of been parroting, this whole time, but that idea of overeducated, underqualified, I think is something that kind of scares me. And I don't know if that's something that, people just talk about, but you yourself, like, have you experienced that actual scenario where someone said, no, you're too overqualified for this job? Or is that just something people kind of keep,
I think people keep kind of saying that. And I think 90% of it is probably just underqualified by experience. That's the bigger part than the actual like education level, right? So it is a rhetoric that people use, but having been on the other side, I think the concern is with the lack of experience and the lack of bandwidth to train new hires that have no experience. So I think postdoc is fine. My personal experience is my postdoc didn't hurt me at all. It actually did help me get my first industry gig. there were actually two of us coming out of a UCLA UCLA, actually, the other candidate was from UCLA as well. She was just coming out of grad school. I was just rolling out of my like year and a half postdoc. And I think at the end of the day, they gave me the position because they kind of counted my like publications experience as an experience. Thankfully, they took both of us in and they created another role for her, but it was a little bit different. And also the salary was different too. So I wouldn't be afraid of a postdoc if you want to go that route. If you know you're like really committed to industry, and I don't know if you want to do a postdoc to just like I did, like I wanted to confirm that I didn't want to stay in academia, but I didn't want to leave academia right away without that extra training, if you will. But if you're interested in industry and committed there, then there's industry postdocships too that you can shoot for. Like San Diego, Pfizer has a bunch. Abbott has a few opportunities, but I think Pfizer is the proactive one with industry fellowship postdoc opportunities.
Gotcha. Do you happen to know, are they a company that hires their postdocs after? I know I've been told some companies like Genentech don't like to hire their industry postdocs.
I've heard that too. And there was a reason, like they didn't want to seem like it was favoritism or something like that. But yeah, my first gig was with Edwards Life Sciences in Irvine. So they were good about it. It wasn't like a postdoc in industry, but the postdoc that I know are clustered in the San Diego biotech area. So
Gotcha.
there's small companies too, but
yeah, no worries. I'm sure I can reach out and find someone. It always seemed like an interesting concept. They wouldn't want to hire the people they just trained, but I guess they need new blood, new ideas.
it could be that, but it does seem odd to me, like you've trained some, but yeah, maybe they don't want it to seem like, once you're a postdoc, you're in, which doesn't also make sense, but yeah, not quite sure about that. Also, I know Genentech has seen some structural rework too that has resulted in a lot of layoffs too. So yeah, I know there's a lot of layoffs in the news now, but I don't know. I think, at least for industry, I think the sales and marketing area is more impacted than anything, because I think companies change their pipeline portfolio quite a bit. So those are usually the layoffs that I see impacted. But R&D side of things, it's fairly stable. So
yeah, I think that's always people's comments when they say I want to go to industry. They say, well, think about it, it's volatile, right? People are constantly getting fired. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It feels like it gets spooky a lot. The whole overqualified, it's volatile. Like, I don't know if this, again, it's just something people kind of keep parroting or what, but it's hard not to consider the things people tell you.
It is, yeah. And yeah, I've heard the same things too. And I find that half of those are myths, and the other half. So hopefully that's sort of why Kwadwo and I came together to like actually write this book. And it took us about 6 years because we were scared together through this process, and we were exchanging notes, and we were saying, well, I don't know if that's what's doing. So we kind of wanted to bust some myths out there, and also I still see a lot of students come to me with the same questions and the same approach of like that parachute approach, and we wanted to save the students a lot of pain along the way, because when I was a postdoc, all I did was parachute for 6 months straight, and it was really depressing. And I don't wish that on my worst enemy. So we're trying to see if we can minimize the pain and streamline the efforts here.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all the advice.
Yeah, no problem. And don't feel like you're betraying your colleagues by leaving academia. I guess that's what they always tell you to stay, but.
I feel like I'm in your case. I really don't think I want to stay, but I have people telling me I'd make a good, PI, have good qualities. And I think at the end of the day, it's hard to ignore people that you respect kind of giving you that faith when you're like, I don't know if it's my vibe. So that's why I was considering a postdoc as one last trial to see, do I really like this or not?
That's exactly my personal story. I ended up getting an NSF fellowship. The grant I ended up getting the grant. And so I thought, oh, that's kind of, if I pursue that professorship route, like that's gonna help. And I didn't want to leave that behind. And so I kind of did a postdocship, but I think that 1.5 year postdocship was good because I have no regrets now. I definitely hated it. So, it might be that kind of experience, but postdoc I think could be a good time for you to kind of explore other opportunities while you're in the postdoc too.
And then just out of curiosity, did you select that based on something you wanted to learn from that lab or the mentor?
Both, yeah. It was the polymer chemistry side I was weak on. So I tried to kind of make up for that skill set. And then I found out that I really hate it. So, and I hate the bench. I hate, I just am more of, I want to help patients at the end of the day. And I felt so far from the patient, I didn't really know where my research, at what point it was going to have direct application to the patient. So, now I kind of take all the clinical trial data, package it, and have it go to the FDA for review to clear and have it available to the patients. So now I feel much closer to the patient, and so I think it just resonated with my core value to do that. And subsequently, I was in my postdocship when somebody from Amgen, who was a medical writer, came to talk about alternative careers in the sciences, and so that's sort of how I immediately kind of jumped on board with the conferences for medical writer and started building my connection there. Because I knew I liked writing, I knew I loved data analysis, but I also wanted to be closer to the patient without like the direct, needle jab. So I think that's kind of how it all kind of came together. Yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I know that was a long-winded way of saying, go ahead and do the postdocship, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for being here and sticking around for questions. And we'll see you in a couple weeks then.
Yeah, we'll do. All right. Well, it was a pleasure being here, and thanks you for having me.
Thanks, Amy.
Take care, everyone. Bye.